Hey folks, welcome to PlayBranson, the show where you get to know Branson's entertainers better. I'm your host, Chris Meyer, and today's episode is brought to you by iBranson.com. It's the place where you can find the latest Branson show schedules and attraction information. So be sure to check out iBranson.com. Our guest today is Aaron Wayne, and it's his first time on the show, and he has a brand new show in Branson. It's called the Aaron Wayne Sweet Dreams Comedy Hypnosis Show. Now, hypnosis is a trance-like mental state in which people experience increased attention, concentration, and suggestibility. While hypnosis is often described as a sleep-like state, it's better expressed as a state of focused attention, heightened suggestibility, and vivid fantasies. Well, we'll have to see if Aaron agrees with my definition. Now, hey folks, have you seen our new PlayBranson magazine? If you're in town and you want to know more about Branson's shows, attractions, golf, lakes, shopping, and more, you need to get PlayBranson. And here's the deal. It's free, and it's located all over town in racks around town. Okay, we'll be back in just a second with Aaron Wayne in just a moment. Hang tight. Hey folks, welcome back to PlayBranson, and on today's show, for the very first time, I have Aaron Wayne. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Love being here. This is going to be fun.
Yes, and so you have a new show in town, and it's called Sweet Dreams Comedy Hypnosis Show, and we're going to talk all about that show, but we want to get to know your background and your history and how you got into this business. And so if you could just tell people, go back and tell people about yourself and your history.
Sure. Well, back in 1995-ish, I opened for a escape artist named Mario Manzini to do a magic show. And so I did a little bit of a magic show. It was my first big stage show. I got married that year, and my wife kind of worked into the act. And so it just started growing from there. So we were doing illusions, those types of things. We had two little kids, and they were part of the act. So we traveled all over the United States doing a show called Gillum Family Illusions. And it was just a lot of fun things that we did, a lot of churches and schools and things like that. Mm-hmm. All during that time, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I have my master's in education with psychology. And so I got interested in hypnosis because that's something you learn in school. And so I got a study at home program, and I was sitting there looking at the program, and I went out and did some shows, and I was like, okay, this is going pretty well. Maybe I need a little bit more training. So I went out to Vegas, and I studied out there and did a whole course out there and took all the different tests that you have to take on that. And then I came back and started doing those type of shows as well. So we got to travel all over doing those. So I've been doing these 20 plus years.
Now, were you doing this full time, or are you doing other stuff as well, or?
Well, that's an interesting question because I think of it as full time, but I was also a full time teacher at the time.
Okay.
I did something no one else believed could be done. All I taught all day was psychology at a high school level. So I had 9 classes of psychology. I had regular psych, AP psych, educational psych, any type of psychology you can think about I was teaching. Plus I was doing a college level with an adjunct professorship there. So I was doing that, and then on the weekends and summers, we traveled doing shows. So we went all over the United States. I think we've been to every state minus 12, and those are typically on the northeast corner up there.
And so how did you get to Branson?
Well, we always enjoyed coming to Branson. This is actually where we had our honeymoon, was here at Branson, because we got married, graduated with a master's, and started teaching school all within 1 week. So we didn't have much time. Wow. So we came to Branson for our honeymoon, and just enjoyed coming back here ever since. Yeah.
And so did you have this thought like, hey, someday I want to perform in Branson, or, I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, about 10, 15 years ago, we actually thought about bringing our illusion show here when the kids were smaller. Of course, as they do, they tend to grow up and go and do their own things. So we thought about that. We came down, we looked at it, and we just decided it wasn't the time with our kids. You know, that family's hugely important to me. And so my daughter does dance. In fact, she dances at a show here in town right now. Okay. My son's a professional violinist. He's up in St. Louis doing that type of thing. But, you know, it was one of those things where it's just always been part of our travel through life. Yeah. And so we always wanted to come to Branson. We just love it here. We love the family atmosphere. That's what we loved about Branson.
So how would you define hypnosis? How would you define that? What is it?
Well, the official definition is called an altered state of consciousness in which one person, the volunteers, then reacts to a suggestion by the hypnotist. I just think it's more about suggestibility. We're all suggestible, right? That's the reason why there are commercials on all the time and politicians saying various things over and over, right? We're all suggestible. And so I just think it's a way of suggestibility. So I approach it a little different than other hypnotists.
Now, we also have this terminology out there, mentalist. And so is a mentalist different than a hypnotist? Or is it kind of the same thing?
They are similar in some ways because they're both using a lot of different psychology with that. But definitely a different thing because a mentalist is typically doing more of an illusion or a trick. For me, it's not that. In fact, I go up there every night. There's no extra magic or anything like that. My volunteers are going to come up on stage and we're going to create a show. And I call it unpredictably fun.
Yeah. So every night you have different people that come up on stage, and we're already getting into talking about the show. No, it's okay. But your show's different than every night.
Yes. Yeah. It's different every night, and it's totally dependent upon the volunteers that come up.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if we want to get into this yet. Do we want to go and talk a little bit about setting up the show?
Well, we'll wait just a second. I want to come back to the hypnotist part because do you think, like, if people don't understand it, do you think there's some skepticism out there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I would be skeptical too. I'm one of those that's more of an overthinker type person. So that's why I come at the hypnosis by looking at, the history behind it, the psychology, the parts of the brain that light up. You know, they do studies of hypnosis, and what people believe, we often talk about imagination, and what we believe is in imagination. There's universities that have studied it, and so if I were to say someone, imagine a bird flying by, under hypnosis, they're not using the imagination part of their brain. They're actually seeing a bird float by. And we've seen this on various PET scans and fMRIs in which they go through and they look at the brain itself. So it's an actual change in the brain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you decide to open a show in Branson. And how did you go about doing that? Did someone call you? Did you start knocking on theater doors? What happened?
Well, to be honest, I got a wonderful break. I know Reza here in town, and he offered me a spot at his Reza Live Theater. Okay. And it's just been wonderful. They've all been very good to me over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what have been your challenges as opening a new show? If you were like to tell someone else, hey, here's a challenge, or here's the good part, here's the bad part, whatever.
Well, first challenge is this, hypnosis. The idea, some people are like, absolutely not. You know, that's certain work of whatever, spiritual type thing. I don't do that at all. And then other people are very skeptical of it. And then a lot of people have gone and seen shows that I believe, hypnotists sometimes give themselves a bad name. And so I'm known as the clean comedy hypnotist. We have fun from beginning to end, but I never embarrass anyone. And in fact, I explained in the show that you won't do anything under hypnosis that you wouldn't do in normal everyday life. I can't say, let's go rob a bank. And they're like, yeah, let's do that. It's not something that happens.
Yeah. Now, you've done some things where, and I think if I read somewhere where you're a certified stress coach, but then you've also done programs that help people to quit smoking or lose weight or stuff like that.
Yeah, I have a full audio program series. I have 8 different audios that help people with various parts of their life that they may be struggling with. Weight, hypnosis, insomnia, confidence, all of these different things that then people, you just pretty much plug it into your computer or your phone or whatever and you listen to it. It's about 25 minutes a day. The first part is doing the suggestions. The first part's doing the induction. The second part is doing the suggestions. And it's one of those things to where if you just sit and listen to it and allow it to happen, you do it for a number of days, it's going to start to change the way you think about things.
There you go.
Yeah.
Folks, how you think determines what you are.
That's right.
Right? There we go. Okay, we'll be back in just a second. We're going to talk more about this new comedy hypnosis show here in Branson. Hang tight.
There are so many things to do in Branson. You need help planning and booking all your fun. You need iBranson.com. You can find everything Branson has to offer from your computer, tablet, or cell phone. You can even buy tickets online or talk to one of their friendly Branson travel specialists. There's no sales pitches, no delivery fees, no service fees, and no waiting. It's fast and easy. Find your fun at iBranson.com. Do it all online or call 877-ENTERTAIN. That's 877-368-3782. iBranson.com.
Going to Branson for some relaxation and fun? You've got to stay with Branson's award-winning hotel family, Meyer Hotels. Meyer Hotels features 4 hotels in Branson with the best locations for your trip. Choose from brands you know and trust, like the Holiday Inn Express on Green Mountain Drive, the Best Western Centerpoint Inn, Comfort Inn at Thousand Hills, and the Comfort Inn and Suites. Enjoy refreshing indoor pools and hot tubs. Do you like free? How about a free hot breakfast each morning? Free vacation planning services, and of course, smiles are always free. Want even more value? Go to MeyerHospitality.com and join our e-club to save 15% off your next stay and check out incredible deals with our vacation packages. Call 1-877-FUN-STAY to book Branson's award-winning hotels or visit MeyerHospitality.com. It's your safe choice for award-winning lodging in Branson. MeyerHospitality.com. Hey folks, welcome back to the show. We are here with Aaron Wayne, and he has a new show called Sweet Dreams Comedy Hypnosis Show over at the Raise Alive Theater.
Yes.
And so, brand new show in Branson this season. And so tell people, what can they expect when they come to this show?
Well, first they're going to expect to have fun. That's exactly what we want everyone to come and just have a good time. But my show's a little different because we actually start before the show. The show starts at 5 o'clock, but out in the lobby at 4:30, 4:35-ish, I actually am out in the lobby greeting people before the show. And we have people who think they might want to volunteer, and I'm giving them various tests to see how suggestible they are. And I just, a lot of people think one way about hypnosis, but it's really something else. So I want them to come up and experience it right there, one-on-one with people gathered around, non-intimidation, as I tell them there's no right or wrong. It's just giving me information to help them if they decide to volunteer on stage.
Okay.
Then when they come up on stage, they feel like, all right, I can understand this guy's going to be nice to me, he's going to treat me well, and I'm willing to try this. And so on a given show, I might have 30-40% of the audience sometimes try to come up. And so we have tons of chairs. I try to take everyone that wants to come up, and then we just see how well they're going to respond. And some people decide, that's not for me, and that's cool, and then we send them off. But the majority, I'd say 80% of them, stay up there the entire show.
Stay up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we say comedy, people are going to laugh.
That's right. They are going to have a good time. I myself am not a stand-up comedian at all, but I've designed the show in such a way that it builds with comedy. And so the people that volunteer become the stars of the show. It's really up to them. But my show's a little different than most comedy hypnosis shows because in those hypnosis shows, it's like a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Actually, we take a trip through Branson. We go to various places like Table Rock Lake, various attractions here in town. They might ride a coaster. They might go and play miniature golf. They're going to be doing specific things here in Branson that typically take a little twist or a turn, something that has them a funny reaction.
Okay. I'm going to stop right here for just a second because you have that bag over there, and we talked about grabbing it. Okay, tell us a little bit about the unconscious and how that works.
Great question. there's the conscious mind. That's the part that we use every day, right, when we're thinking. And then there's the unconscious mind, the part that's underneath it, that's constantly working in the background. And so as a hypnotist, my job is to get past the conscious mind and shoot things into the unconscious mind. But I believe the unconscious mind always wants to come out and talk to us anyway. And so I have a little piece of paper thing here. And what I want you to do is just simply draw me a tree and then sign your name. It's that simple. So you go right ahead and do this.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is we're going to find out a little bit about you.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is going to be great. While you're drawing here, back in the 1950s, 1960s, a lady by the name of Ethel Johnson wrote a book called Draw Me a Tree, in which she believed that by drawing this tree, it tells me a little bit about your unconscious. Perfect. Great. Yeah. This is awesome. Let's hold it up for everyone to see it. Oh, this is perfect.
Look, it's not a great tree. But...
That is awesome. That's awesome. And so what we can then do is I can tell a little bit about your personality, a little bit about you based upon the tree. And so, for instance, this at the top is called a cotton top. That means you're an optimist, right? There are different types. You could have drawn a Christmas tree. You could have drawn like a weeping willow. You could have drawn a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, right? So this is you. And this is the future, right? And so you're optimistic about the future. This trunk represents your past. And so right where those two meet means that's where we are now.
Okay.
All right. So you're very optimistic about the future, right? So based upon the tree, I just read it. These aren't always right, to be honest. Right? What I do up there is it's kind of an art/science.
Yeah.
So you're optimistic about the future, but there are some things that are still cloudy. Like it's not exactly clear. Like you have a lot of big plans that you're still working on.
Okay.
Down here is the trunk. That's the past. Now you have some lines here.
Right.
These are interesting. Lines are telling us about memories.
Okay.
And so, or things that you've done. So you can see how there's a line here that comes up and then stops. So if we were to, I'm not going to ask your age, but if we were to look at your age, and let's just assume you're 40, right? And so we come down here, that would be a little past halfway. So that would mean somewhere in your 20s that you were doing something since you were really little, that you went all the way up there and then ended up stopping that. And so I don't know if that's true of you. You'd have to look at about that. Doesn't want to tell us. And then we come up to this one. There was one coming up. It stopped, and then it goes again. So that could be the same line, meaning just before you ended that other thing, you stopped, and then you came back to it. And so it lets me know a little bit about you. Now, one last thing. Down here at the bottom is where you signed.
Right.
Where you signed tells me about you as well. Now, I don't know. Again, we didn't set any of this up. So as we do this, you signed it over here. That is underneath the tree. That typically means your first or middle name is passed down.
Oh, that's true. Right. My middle name is passed down.
Yes. Yeah. And so what we can find out from that is this side over here is going to represent where that comes down, that side of the family, whereas this side represents the other side of the family. So we get to find out all about you just based upon a tree.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so this, Ethel says, comes from your unconscious. You could have drawn this tree any way you wanted, but somehow I get to find out a little bit about you based upon the tree.
Yeah. So the unconscious, we talk about people driving and then they don't remember where they drove.
Right.
Is that an example of the unconscious?
That's sometimes called like road hypnosis.
Okay.
Right? Because you've done it so many times, you don't even have to think about it. It just gets burned into your brain, those neural connections, that type of thing. And in my show, I kind of explain that. I use that to my advantage. Because when people come up, they don't know what it's like. So I'm trying to explain to them, you know, I might use the word sleep, but you're not asleep. You're very much conscious and aware because you're always going to hear the sound of my voice. And I might tell you to do something, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Most people are just so relaxed they don't care.
Now, based on what you saw here, would I be a good candidate or not? Or can you tell from this?
You can't exactly tell from this, but based on this, the initial finding would be yes.
Okay.
You would be a pretty good candidate.
I would be a good candidate.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, let's tell people when your show is and the times and where it's located again.
It's at the Raise Alive Theater. It's at 5 o'clock on Saturdays, Sundays, and Tuesdays.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's 75 minutes show?
That's right.
Now, no intermission then, right?
No intermission, because if they're under hypnosis, it's hard to wake them up and then put them back down. So we go straight through 75 minutes, and sometimes it goes up to 80, but it's an about time. we start there at the beginning. We get everybody in. We have some fun. We just bring in some comedy, some participation type things. Then we bring up the volunteers. And while the volunteers are being hypnotized, I actually have a screen that explains everything that I'm doing, so that it's not some type of voodoo type thing. I'm explaining, this is why I said this. This is what's happening here. So you get really an insight into hypnosis. And then we get to the comedy fun part. And they go on various trips and all this stuff.
Yep.
So it's a 75-minute show.
Okay, folks, here's the deal. We are always telling you about what is new, what's different in Branson. And this is just another example of something new and different that you can do in Branson. And I haven't been to your show yet, but I've seen this hypnosis stuff, and it is hilarious what times I've seen it. So I'm sure you guys are going to have a good time. It's over at the Raise Alive Theater that's down Highway 165. We'll be back in just a minute to wrap the show up.
Sweet dreams are made of you.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking to Aaron Wayne, and he's located at the Raise Alive Theater. Now that's located at 645 State Highway 165. Now he has shows at 5 p.m. on Saturdays, Sundays, and he said Tuesdays as well. Now, next week, our guest will be Ashley Jo Deaton Brown. Now she's with #1 Hits of the 60s, her first time on the show. We're looking forward to talking to her. If you need help planning your Branson vacation, be sure to visit ibranson.com or call 1-877-ENTERTAIN. You can find the latest show schedules, attraction information, lodging. There's a lot there on that website. Now, if you're sitting at home and you're like, summer's about over, well, guess what? There's still time before the end of the summer season to get here. Now, you can also find all our Play Branson episodes on social media, on Facebook, and our YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Play Branson. Now, you can also find us on thevacationchannel.com. Folks, music is always better live, so go see some live music this week. Support our entertainers. They would appreciate it, and so would I. That's it for today. We'll see you next week on Play Branson.